Libra, my dear one, this week, something sacred is happening in your Liphia symbolic funeral that marks the end of an old identity and opens the door to something far greater. A divine closure is unfolding, and behind it, a flow of unexpected money and long-awaited justice is making its way toward you. This is not a coincidence. You were meant to arrive here, right now, with me, inside this exact message. Welcome to Zodiac Whisper Tarot. This isn't just a reading, it's a spiritual invitation. And in the next few minutes, you'll come to realize that what's ending in your life isn't punishing you, it's preparing you. It's a shedding, a sacred burial of what has expired, an outdated role, a promise made in fear, or a version of yourself you no longer need to protect. This symbolic funeral isn't your undoing. It's your rebirth. This week, you may feel unusually sensitive. You might be revisiting unresolved memories, feeling disconnected from your routines, or dreaming of people you haven't thought of in years. Pay attention. That's your soul whispering. That's your ancestral line reaching out through symbols, signs, and emotions. And with the full moon in Aries lighting up your 7th house, this is no longer about carrying burdens quietly. It's about releasing them, once and for all. Because behind this quiet ending lies something powerful, a tangible shift in your financial life. Whether it comes through a legal payout, a family estate, a contract that finally moves forward, or an unexpected ally who shows up with resources, you're being prepared to receive something that was always yours, but was held back until you were ready. And now, you are. You may already sense this change. A conversation you've been avoiding may suddenly reopen. A message you receive might feel strangely faded. And deep down, your intuition has been whispering, it's time. Time to let go. Time to reclaim. Time to rise. And Libra, when you do, when you finally say yes to this new chapter, the universe will not delay. Because justice, your soul's deepest craving, is already on its way. Not courtroom justice, but divine justice. Cosmic alignment. The restoration of what was taken or silenced. And it begins the moment you stop negotiating your truth and start walking in it. Let me pause for a moment to say thank you. Truly. For being here. For listening with an open heart. For every like, every comment, every subscription. Your support fuels this sacred space we've created together at Zodiac Whisper Tarot. And trust me, this message was not sent to the mass, it was meant for you. And what the universe is revealing today is nothing short of extraordinary. So don't go anywhere. Stay with me until the final moment of this video. Because the cards ahead are calling your name, and what they show will move you in ways you didn't expect. Now tell me, Libra, what called you here today? What inner truth are you ready to face? If this message already resonates in your spirit, confirm your connection in the comments by writing, I release the past with gratitude and receive my divine inheritance with clarity. Your journey starts now. And what's about to unfold may just change everything. There are moments in our lives when we aren't just facing a situation, we're re-facing ourselves. And right now, Libra, this is one of those moments. The full moon blooming in fiery Aries isn't simply lighting up your chart, it's activating your inner sky. This lunar force is tugging at the deepest corners of your emotional world, shaking loose everything that's been suppressed. Anger you tucked beneath politeness. Words you swallowed for the sake of peace. The silent endurance that came at the cost of your own clarity. And now, all of it rises not to overwhelm you, but to be witnessed. To be released. What you're experiencing isn't chaos, it's sacred undoing. A beautiful unraveling of the old threads that once held your identity together. This is the essence of what we call the symbolic funeral. You're not losing yourself, Libra. You're laying to rest an outdated version of you. A self that once served you but now asks to be set free. Perhaps it's a family story you inherited without choice. Perhaps it's a belief system that once kept you safe but now feels like a prison. Or maybe it's a role you've played out of guilt, duty, or fear. And now, it's time to release it all with compassion and respect. Letting go doesn't mean erasing the past. It means honoring it without letting it define you anymore. We hold ceremonies to say goodbye not because endings are sad but because they are sacred. And this week, whether you feel it as a whisper or a wave, you are being invited to hold such a ceremony within your own heart. Not with sorrow, but with reverence. Not with shame, but with grace. Astrologically, Aries brings fire. It doesn't ask you to reflect, it pushes you to act. But for Libra, who often seeks harmony over confrontation, this fire might feel intense. You may want to retreat, to weigh the pros and cons, to delay. But the truth is, Libra, this isn't a time for postponing. The old must be buried so that the new can breathe. And while fire burns, it also purifies. From a soul-centered perspective, this is not just about change, it's about transition. You are stepping across an invisible threshold. And thresholds require intention. So I ask you, what emotional weight are you still carrying that no longer belongs to your future self? What habit, what narrative, what old pain continues to take up space in your sacred garden? It's time to release it. And when you do, you don't collapse, you rise. Even in the most practical terms, holding on to emotional baggage has a cost. It clouds judgment. It tightens the body. It robs you of the vitality you need to make bold decisions. Sometimes the biggest shift doesn't come from doing more, but from releasing what's blocking your natural flow. You don't have to understand every detail of your healing to begin. Sometimes, healing starts with simply saying, I let go. You are not weak for needing closure. You are wise for giving yourself permission to have it. And while I won't weave this moment into something overly mystical, I will say this gently: the universe responds to clarity. When you finally choose to place your hand on your heart and say, this ends with me, the world around you begins to realign. I've heard stories from clients and viewers perhaps just like you who released a toxic cycle and within days received an unexpected offer, an apology long overdue, or a sense of peace that had eluded them for years. Was it magic? Maybe not in the cinematic sense. But sometimes the most divine intervention shows up in the form of peace after the storm. Quiet mornings after restless nights. And a path that finally feels walkable again. So, Libra, I invite you to mark this moment. To stand in it. To acknowledge what's ending, not with fear but with gratitude. Write in the comments below, if this resonates, I release with love and gratitude. Let it be a spiritual signature. A line drawn in the sand between your past and your becoming. You are not burying your power, you are rediscovering it beneath the rubble. And trust me, what's coming next? is worth every ounce of release. Justice doesn't always arrive with a bang. Sometimes, it enters quietly, like the sound of a lock finally clicking open after years of waiting outside a door you knew belonged to you. Libra, your time has come. Not because the world is suddenly fair, but because you've reached a point of readiness. Astrologically, October isn't just your birthday month, it's the energetic mirror of your essence. It's where the cosmic scales begin to shift back into balance, where what was once hidden slowly begins to rise to the surface. When the Justice card appears, especially for someone like you, whose sign is quite literally symbolized by the scale, it isn't about revenge, punishment, or dramatic reversals. It's about recalibration. It's about the quiet, steady restoration of something that should have never been taken, or perhaps something you gave away before you truly knew its value. For many Libras, this season may bring the re-emergence of long-delayed payments, documents resurfacing, or long-lost truths finally coming to light. And yet, even more than material things, this moment offers the opportunity for you to reclaim your voice, your clarity, and your rightful place. But here's the key: justice is not automatic. It's not a passive reward. It's an invitation, one that requires you to stand in full awareness. To be present. To no longer downplay what you deserve. You are being asked to stop apologizing for your needs, to stop explaining your worth, and to simply claim what is already energetically yours. That can be as simple as saying, "No more." Or as brave as signing a contract that once terrified you. Or even choosing silence when your truth no longer needs validation. What matters is that your participation is conscious. Awake. From a deeper lens, especially for those walking with faith in their hearts, this time mirrors the spiritual principle of divine timing. In many stories of miraculous grace, breakthroughs arrive not when the person begs, but when the person aligns. When we stop chasing and start trusting. When we move not out of desperation, but out of certainty. Justice, in its purest form, is not an act of reward, it is the universe reordering itself in response to your alignment with truth. You may have felt overlooked, dismissed, even betrayed over the past year. And you may have questioned, where is my justice? Why hasn't it arrived yet? But the truth is, Libra, delays are not denials. Sometimes, the things that are meant for us are withheld not to punish us but to protect them until we are truly ready to receive. Just as a parent might hold back an inheritance until the child grows into wisdom, the universe waits for you to grow into full ownership of your path. This is why, right now, it's so important to be clear about what you're willing to accept and what you will no longer allow. Ask yourself gently, what have I tolerated for too long? What value have I been denying in myself? What truth am I ready to walk in without shrinking? Because the moment you answer those questions sincerely, you send a signal to everything around you, I'm ready. And the universe listens to clarity. In fact, so many people I've spoken with, including those who live deeply rooted, everyday lives, have shared how breakthroughs arrived right after they chose to stop waiting to be chosen. They chose themselves. And that shift, more than any prayer or ritual, opened the way. So if you've ever felt that something was taken from you, your name, your place, your piece of the legacy, I want you to write it, own it, speak it. I reclaim what is rightfully mine. You're not demanding what isn't yours. You're simply returning to the center. You are the balance bringer. This is your role, your birthright. The scales have not forgotten you, they've been waiting for you to remember them. When the energy of release is honored, something extraordinary happens, space is created. And in that space, Libra, something new begins to bloom. After all the emotional dust begins to settle, the Ace of Pentacles quietly makes its entrance. It doesn't shout. It doesn't demand attention. It simply offers a key, a seed, an invitation to step into a more grounded, secure version of your future. This card is not just about money. It's about stability. It's about material peace and a tangible opportunity that matches the internal work you've already done. There's something deeply personal about the timing of this appearance. For months, maybe even years, you've been releasing emotional weight, shedding limiting patterns, and choosing truth over comfort. Even if others didn't see those choices, the universe did. And now, this card emerges as a kind of divine receipt. A quiet but profound affirmation that all your inner alignment has begun to ripple outward. Your energy has shifted, and now your physical reality is catching up. The Ace of Pentacles often shows up when something real is ready to root itself in your life. This could be a financial breakthrough, a business opportunity, an unexpected gift, or a long-deserved reward finally finding its way to you. It could come through a legal matter being resolved, a new client reaching out, a contract being signed, or a surprising call that changes your financial landscape. But here's the real invitation. Will you trust yourself enough to say yes? This is where many people pause. Not because the opportunity isn't good, but because it feels unfamiliar. After carrying struggle for so long, peace can feel strange. After years of just enough, abundance might feel overwhelming. And so the soul hesitates. Not out of unworthiness but out of habit. That's why this card comes not only with a gift, but with a question. Can you hold more? Can you stretch into a higher standard without shrinking back into your old fears? As someone who has worked with countless souls at similar crossroads, I've seen this exact moment play out again and again. The door opens. The offer is made. And the person pulls back not because they aren't ready, but because they don't recognize themselves without the struggle. So I say this to you gently, Libra, this blessing is not random. It's not too good to be true. It is the natural outcome of your quiet courage and sacred choices. And it's okay to feel uncertain, but don't let uncertainty become avoidance. Sometimes, prosperity asks us to grow emotionally before it fully arrives. That's why the universe often gives us preview small wins, supportive conversations, unexpected validations to prepare us. Think of this moment not as a test, but as an expansion. A confirmation that you're being invited to operate on a new level financially, professionally, even relationally. Your past choices have built the foundation. Now, you're being asked to build upward. From a practical perspective, this may be the time to revise your budget, refine your goals, or revisit a project you shelved out of fear. And from a spiritual perspective, this is your reminder that it is not prideful to receive. It is not greedy to allow good things in. Sometimes, the most faithful act we can take is to say, yes, when the miracle comes quietly knocking. I've known people who prayed for years, not knowing the answer would come through a human gesture, a contract, an opportunity, a check in the mail. The divine doesn't always look like thunder and lightning. Sometimes it looks like a direct deposit. A signed agreement. A whispered, "We'd like to work with you." Your job now is to be available. To let go of the smallness you once used as protection and welcome the vastness that's now ready to unfold. So if you feel that something new is approaching, something real, supportive, and possibly life-changing, I invite you to affirm it in the comments below. Write, "I welcome prosperity with a mature heart." Because the act of claiming is powerful. And this time, Libra, you are not asking for too much. You are receiving what matches your worth. It's remarkable what begins to unfold once the heart no longer carries the weight of proving itself. Libra, as the earlier energies of release and renewal have softened the soil of your life, something equally tender and vital begins to emerge now: your capacity for love, intimacy, and authentic emotional connection. The Sun card arriving in the realm of your relationships is no small symbol. It's the gentle warmth after a long winter. It's the laughter you didn't know you missed. And more than anything, it's a clear sign that love, when it is healthy and unburdened, doesn't demand suffering to be meaningful. Often, when we've gone through seasons of emotional hardship, our reflex is to either shield our hearts or overextend ourselves, either hiding away in fear of being hurt again or trying too hard to compensate for the past. But the Sun invites neither of those. Instead, it calls you into presence, into joy, into the kind of love that begins with lightness, not pressure. For those of you who are single, this could be a time when someone with emotional maturity, someone who doesn't just say the right things but embodies them, enters your path. Not to rescue you, but to meet you where you are, whole and wholehearted. For those already in a relationship, this phase brings the potential for a renewal of vows, not necessarily formal, but spiritual. A realignment of how you show up for one another, not from obligation, but from mutual respect and deeper clarity. There may be an honest conversation ahead, one that reshapes the emotional architecture of your partnership. But instead of fear, let there be curiosity. Let there be grace. Because when both hearts choose to soften instead of defend, healing becomes not just possible, it becomes inevitable. From an energetic perspective, the Sun card often signals that your frequency is rising. When your energy shifts from survival to self-honoring, you begin to attract connections that reflect that light. People who once mirrored your unhealed wounds begin to fade, and those who match your peace, your playfulness, and your purpose start to appear. This is why love now may look and feel different than what you expected. It may be quieter, more grounded. It may not sweep you off your feet, but instead invite you to rest them. And maybe that's the kind of love you've been waiting for all along. In the context of the law of attraction and emotional healing, it's important to remember, you don't attract what you want, you attract who you are being. And when you're rooted in your own worth, when you stop chasing validation and begin to offer yourself the kindness you once begged others for, love shows up differently. Not as a test, but as a reflection. This is also a moment to reflect on how you want to be loved, not based on fantasy, but based on truth. What are the rhythms that calm your nervous system? What kind of touch feels safe? What kind of conversation feels inspiring? What kind of support feels real? When you get clear on that, love has a map. And those meant to walk with you will recognize the terrain. You don't need to perform to be loved. You don't need to fix yourself to be chosen. The people who are meant to love you in this season will love you as you are becoming, not just as who you've been. So take a breath. Lower your shoulders. You're not here to convince anyone of your value, you're here to honor it. If your heart feels this shift, if you sense that love is coming, not as a storm but as sunlight, leave a comment and write, I love from a heart that no longer needs to prove itself. Let that be your declaration. Let it be a signal to the universe that you're ready not just to be loved, but to love in a way that feels true. And in this new season, Libra, may your love be light, grounded, and deeply, beautifully real. Dear Libra, the moment you began to see the patterns in your family as something you could change, not just survive, was the moment your soul agreed to a divine assignment far greater than you imagined. You are not here to carry everyone's pain. You are here to transform it. And this week, the universe is bringing forward the perfect opportunity to do so. A long-buried truth, perhaps linked to an inheritance, an unresolved passing, or even a spiritual debt, is rising to the surface, not to hurt you but to free you. When cosmic alignments stir your fourth house, as they do now, what's hidden within the energetic structure of your home and family lineage begins to ask for light. You may have dreams of a loved one who has passed on, a sudden memory resurfacing, or find yourself repeating a phrase your grandmother used to say without knowing why. These are not coincidences. These are sacred callings. You, Libra, are the keeper of the ancestral gate this week, the one who decides what stays, what is released, and what must be rewritten. And perhaps the most powerful thing you can do now is forgive. Not to excuse, but to unbind. Because some energies were never yours to begin with, and yet they've been entangled in your nervous system for years. A single act of conscious choice, letting go, expressing truth, setting a boundary, or even blessing what left you, becomes a ripple of liberation for past and future generations. Spiritual teachers and sacred texts often speak about this. There's a beautiful passage in the Gospel of John, "Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." This is not just a biblical phrase, it's energetic law. Truth clears the field. Truth heals what hiding tries to control. Truth, spoken in love, dissolves generations of silence. That is the vibration you're being asked to step into now. And you don't do it alone. Many of us walk through life believing we must carry burdens in isolation. But the truth is, when you show up with love and faith, even if your voice shakes, you are met with unseen hands holding you. God meets you in your bravery. The prayers of your ancestors whisper through every courageous decision you make. You are surrounded, not abandoned. You are guided, not forgotten. Sometimes healing doesn't begin with a loud confrontation. It begins in the quiet act of naming what was never named. It begins with acknowledging, "This hurt me. This broke something. But I choose peace now. I choose legacy. I choose to be the one who breaks the chain, not the one who becomes it." And in doing so, Libra, you realign your family line with favor, wealth, and light. The energetic river begins to flow again. Money comes. Health improves. Doors open. Why? Because the block has been removed. And you, in your quiet, intentional way, were the one chosen to open that gate. If you're feeling this truth in your heart right now, I invite you to affirm it in the comments. I am the light in my bloodline. This is more than a phrase. It's a spiritual key. It declares that you are no longer repeating what broke you. You are becoming what heals you and those who will come after you. Take a deep breath. You're not just living this week, Libra. You are leading an unseen revolution of love. Libra, in the quiet moments when no one is watching, your soul has been making choices. choices not everyone can see but the universe does. And this week, you're being reminded of something powerful. Destiny isn't something that happens to you. It's something you step into. It begins with a letting go, and sometimes, that letting go looks like a funeral, symbolic or real. An ending that marks your turning point. One chapter closing so a much greater one can open. What if this is not the week you lose something, but the week you're set free? You have been carrying the weight of karmic debts that were never yours to begin with. Family burdens, old stories, ancestral fears all woven into your path, until now. This week delivers an unexpected release. It might come wrapped in silence. It might look like grief. But it's the kind of grief that clears the sky, that makes room for blessings. You are not just witnessing fate, Libra. You are reshaping it. And into that space, wealth walks in. Not just any money, but money that feels earned by your growth. Money that carries justice. There is something divine in the way abundance is finally flowing to you. Not as a reward for suffering, but as confirmation that you finally said yes to the life you've always known you were meant to live. So don't minimize the signs. That strange conversation, the unexpected message, the person you haven't heard from in years, all of it is part of the realignment. This is your time to act like the millionaire the universe already sees in you. To walk like you've already received the love, the property, the breakthrough. To speak as if you are already being heard. That energy, that unapologetic embodiment of your truth is what turns destiny into reality. And remember, Libra, justice is not always loud. Sometimes it arrives in silence. Sometimes it looks like finally being at peace with what left. Sometimes it sounds like your own voice whispering, I am ready now. So take this moment. Place your hand on your heart. Feel your own strength beneath your skin. And say this with me, out loud or silently, I am Libra. I honor what is gone. I welcome what is mine. I receive the money, the blessings, and the love with grace. My destiny is not behind me. It's unfolding in front of me. Let those words echo within you, because they're already aligning you with everything you've asked for. The universe listens when your heart speaks clearly. Thank you for sharing this sacred space with me at Zodiac Whisper Tarot. If this message has touched your spirit, I invite you to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment below, not just for the algorithm, but as a declaration. Tell the universe you are ready. Say, I claim my destiny, if you feel called. Say what you're letting go of, or what gift you're ready to receive. Your words are a contract with the energy that surrounds you. You're not alone in this transformation. We're walking beside you. And every time you return here, you are reminding the world, Libra does not wait for fate, Libra becomes it. Until next time, stay luminous. Stay brave. And never forget you were always the miracle.